Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to The Walk. Today is Wednesday, April 16th, and we're up to verse 4 of Ezekiel 43, and this is what it says. As the glory of the Lord entered the temple by the gate facing east. Okay, we want to stop here and think about this. Why is it important to specifically say the gate facing east? Well, in the Cultural Study Bible, it said that in Near Eastern rituals and texts, the gates are important in association with the entry of the God into the temple. So that east gate is like set up for the glory of the Lord to come in and come through. It's kind of like rolling out that red carpet idea of making sure that everything is set up and ready for God's presence. Verse 5. The Spirit lifted me up and brought me into the inner court, and behold, the glory of the Lord filled the temple. The ESV Fire Study Bible had an interesting note about this, and it said, the book of Ezekiel began with an amazing vision of God's glory in chapters 8 to 11, described how God's glory gradually departed from the temple and the city because of the people's sins. Ezekiel concludes with another awe-inspiring vision, God's glory, power, and love filling the temple again. While the Holy Spirit came from heaven on the day of Pentecost like the sound of a violent wind, Ezekiel describes the return of God's glory like the sound of many waters, and the earth shone with his glory. Above all else, we should desire to see evidence of God's glory demonstrated within the church through the works of the Holy Spirit. The absence of such a burning desire is evidence of a spiritual decline amongst God's people. So we want to see those active moves of the Holy Spirit. That's how we see God's glory and God's majesty. Verse 6. While the man was standing beside me, I heard one speaking to me out of the temple, and he said to me, Son of man, this is the place of my throne and the place of the soles of my feet, where I will dwell in the midst of the people of Israel forever. And the house of Israel shall no more defile my holy name, neither they nor their kings, by their whoring and by the dead bodies of the kings at their high places. All right, so I got interested in the fact that it said the soles of his feet. You know, it's the place of his throne and the place of the soles of his feet. Well, when I started to dig, I found that the word sole there is the word calf, and it meant open palm. So I'm thinking to myself, why does it say the soles of the feet if it means open palm? And the word for foot there is regal, and it means foot or leg, and the lexicon means to trample. But this can also be translated as a footstool. So when I'm thinking about this, when you put your feet up on a footstool, the soles of your feet are exposed and you're in a relaxed, resting position. I also discovered through one of my friends that the Jewish people believed in Judaism, they believe that the soul of the body goes out through the soles of the feet. And that when Christ comes back and the people come out of their graves, that they're going to come out of their graves feet first. And that their resurrection out of those graves is going to be happening feet first. Then we get to verse 8, and verse 8 says, by setting their threshold by my threshold, and their doorposts by my doorposts, and only a wall between me and them, they have defiled my holy name by their abominations that they have committed, so I have consumed them with my anger. Wondering what's going on here. So when I looked at the Cultural Study Bible, I found a note, and it said, the statement here in verse 8 corresponds with the description of Solomon's temple in 1 Kings. The original temple was built as one element of the entire Solomonic palace complex. Only a wall separated the temple from the palace, and they bordered threshold to threshold and doorpost to doorpost. So basically what it's saying is that there was a lack of reverence, that Solomon's temple was only separated by a wall, and then there, boom, there's the temple where the Lord was dwelling and where his glory was. And, you know, there isn't that reverential. It was almost like we see you as parallel. We see you as the king as being on the same level. And that's why it was an abomination. And that's why they were consumed in God's anger. Verse 9. Now let them put away their whoring and the dead bodies of their kings far from me, and I will dwell in their midst forever. Verse 10. As for you, son of man, describe to the house of Israel the temple, that they may be ashamed of their iniquities, and they shall measure the plan. And if they are ashamed of all that they have done, make known to them the design of the temple, its arrangements, its exits and its entrance, that is, its whole design, and make known to them as well as all its statutes and its whole design and all its laws, and write it down in their sight, so that they may observe all its laws and all its statutes and carry them out. This is the law of the temple. The whole territory on the top of the mountain all around shall be most holy. Behold, this is the law of the temple. So Ezekiel's basically being told here, give them the description of the temple. I told you all those measurements for a reason. Give it to them. And we just saw that in these previous chapters. Now, the law of the temple, the ESV Fire Study Bible had a note for that, and it said the most basic element of the law of God's temple is holiness, which requires spiritual purity and separation from all sin and evil. As living temples of the Holy Spirit, Christ's followers must live by the Spirit's standard of holiness and remain free from spiritual impurity. Now, does that mean that you're not going to have any sin in your life? Absolutely not. But what it means is you're striving to have less sin. You're growing in your relationship with Christ. And I told you on Monday, there's going to be a special video for Thursday. That video is all about that growth. So make sure you tune in for tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. God bless, and keep walking the walk.